Imagine a ship so perfectly preserved, it looked like the crew had simply stepped away for lunch, plates set, coffee brewing. Now imagine that same ship and every man aboard vanishing without a trace, only to have the chilling mystery resurrected by a man who had already pulled a similar disappearing act years before. This is the story of the Bannockburn and the specter who sailed it, a tale of the Great Lakes' most baffling cold case, spanning 2 continents and 2 sudden disappearances. The ghost ship of the Great Lakes. In the lexicon of maritime history, the Great Lakes of North America hold a particularly dark and cold chapter. These inland seas, often mistaken for mere bodies of water, are capable of generating hurricanes and rogue waves, earning the moniker the Shipwreck Graveyard. Over 6,000 vessels have been lost here, but few disappearances remain as stubbornly inexplicable as that of the Canadian-registered steamship, the SS Bannockburn. A routine voyage into oblivion. The Bannockburn was a sturdy, reliable 245-foot steel-hulled freighter built in 1903 in Middlesbrough, England. A canaller-type vessel, she was designed to navigate the narrow locks of the St. Lawrence Seaway, primarily carrying grain and coal. On a frigid evening in late November 1902, the ship was loaded with a full cargo of wheat and set sail from Fort William, now Thunder Bay, Ontario, bound for Midland, Ontario, across the treacherous expanse of Lake Superior. Captain George R. Wood, a seasoned master mariner from Port Dalhousie, was in command. The crew consisted of 19 men, many of whom were experienced sailors accustomed to the lake's capricious nature. The weather, typical for the season, was blustery and cold, but not immediately threatening. The Bannockburn was sighted for the last time around noon on November 21, 1902. She was steaming past the remote icy-cold waters near the Caribou Island Lighthouse, a lonely sentinel standing watch over some of the deepest and most dangerous parts of Lake Superior. The lighthouse keeper noted her passing in the log, a perfectly ordinary entry that would soon become the final recorded observation of the vessel. She never arrived in Midland. The search and the specters. When the Bannockburn failed to appear, initial concern quickly escalated to dread. The weather had turned violent, bringing with it a fierce November gale, the type that could instantly turn a large lake into a lethal, unpredictable ocean. Search efforts were hampered by the storm, but when they finally commenced, they yielded almost nothing. Days later, the steamer SS Algonquin, navigating the same waters, reported a chilling observation. His captain claimed to have seen a ship matching the Bannockburn's description, steaming far off course, acting erratically, almost like a spectral image in the distance. The Algonquin's log records the sighting, but the vessel was gone before they could close the distance. Then, pieces of debris began to surface, not vast sections of wreckage, but small, personal, and profoundly disturbing items. A broken lifeboat oar bearing the ship's name, a life preserver, and a few pieces of ship's timber. There were no bodies, no significant hull fragments, nor a large concentrated field of wreckage to indicate a rapid, violent sinking. For decades, the ship earned its lasting nickname, the ghost ship of the Great Lakes.
Okay, here we go. The unsettling tale of first mate Thomas Welsh. The Bannockburn mystery is already compelling, but the true, astonishing detail lies in the identity of one man aboard, the first mate, Thomas Welsh. Welsh was a respectable, competent sailor, and by all accounts, a devoted husband and father. He had joined the Bannockburn in Port Dalhousie just weeks before the final voyage. However, Thomas Welsh had a secret, a history that was about to echo the Bannockburn's fate with uncanny precision. Thomas Welsh had already been declared dead once. In 1899, 3 years before the Bannockburn vanished, Thomas Welsh was living with his family in Liverpool, England. He was sailing on the Atlantic run, a demanding but common life for a British sailor. One day, he simply failed to return home. There were no witnesses, no struggle, and no note. He simply disappeared. After a mandatory waiting period, and with no evidence of his survival or whereabouts, Thomas Welsh was officially declared deceased. His wife and family mourned, and his estate was settled. The disappearance was treated as a tragic, inexplicable loss at sea or on shore. The resurrection and the second vanishing. Sometime in 1901, Thomas Welsh reappeared. He surfaced not in Liverpool, but on the other side of the Atlantic in the port city of Kingston, Ontario, Canada. He offered no explanation for his absence, no tale of amnesia, no long captivity, just a quiet, unsettling presence. He had begun a new life, taking work on the Great Lakes freighters, a world away from his European past. He never contacted his family in England, a decision that remains profoundly perplexing. He sailed under his real name, apparently unconcerned with hiding his identity. The family he left behind in Liverpool had no idea that the man they had mourned and buried in their memory was now piloting vessels across Lake Superior. By November 1902, Thomas Welsh was the first mate on the Bannockburn. When the Bannockburn vanished, the story of Thomas Welsh, the man who had already been declared dead in England, began to emerge. The sailor had pulled off the ultimate vanishing act once, successfully escaping a settled life, only to be caught in a real, final disappearance just 3 years later. To his original family in England, it was a tragedy multiplied. The pain of loss, followed by the shock of his resurrection, followed by the final, definitive reality of his death. The tale created an international sensation, an emotional riddle layered upon a maritime one. The legacy and the cold depths. The mystery of the Bannockburn never truly faded. The disappearance was so total and the man aboard so enigmatic that theories persist to this day. The ice and the sudden capsize. The prevailing theory suggests that the ship succumbed to icing. In the cold of November, spray from the lake can freeze instantly upon hitting the deck and rigging. If enough ice accumulated on the topsides, it could drastically raise the ship's center of gravity, causing her to lose stability and instantly capsize in the fierce gale. This rapid event would explain the total lack of a distress signal and the absence of survivors. Structural failure. Less common, but still plausible, is the idea of a catastrophic structural failure due to the constant stress of the waves, or perhaps a sudden shift in the heavy wheat cargo, leading to a quick flooding and sinking. The curse of Caribou Island. Maritime superstition holds that the waters near Caribou Island are particularly cursed, claiming the lives of many ships, including the ill-fated SS Edmund Fitzgerald years later. Decades of search efforts, utilizing increasingly advanced sonar technology, have failed to definitively locate the wreck of the Bannockburn. Lake Superior is notoriously deep, reaching a maximum depth of over 1,300 feet, making the search equivalent to finding a needle in a massive, cold, freshwater haystack. Conclusion: the SS Bannockburn remains one of the most compelling and baffling maritime cold cases in North American history. It is the story of a well-found ship and 20 men swallowed by the world's largest freshwater lake. But it is the story of first mate Thomas Welsh that gives the Bannockburn's disappearance its truly astonishing quality. A man who successfully vanished and returned from the dead, only to be claimed by the lake in a final, real disappearance, turning a simple maritime tragedy into a deeply human, unsettling narrative. He sailed into an abyss, a specter aboard a ghost ship, cementing the SS Bannockburn as a true legend of the treacherous, unforgiving Great Lakes.